I said, if I was a woman, all these arguments people have, you cannot have surrogacy, give birth like the Hebrew women. You will miss me with that. I will do with my body what I choose to do, and then you can do with your judgment what you choose to do. I don't care what, let me not say it that way. Yes. I don't care what people who don't know me think about me. The honest advice I will give any public figure is to leave social media
first.
I shared an opinion. So a group of people who I thought were my allies criticized me on social media over the thing. And I felt unsafe. I felt like, oh my God, people dislike me. And I asked myself, you cannot go through depression, go through suicidal thoughts, and be worried by what somebody... So I was annoyed with myself. I'm like, that means I have work to do on myself, because I thought about what I said before I wrote it. Why am I concerned about what people in public are saying? I'm a media consultant. Red Media Africa is one of the top 3 PR companies in Nigeria. So this is my work here. I founded it. I ran it as CEO for 10 years. I said, I don't think... we're the ones that first started consulting for governments when it comes to social media. I opened the social media account for Federal Ministry of Finance. I opened a social media account for all kinds of ministries. So I opened the Paris social media account. So
you did?
Yes. I don't think that social media depends on me being personally on it. I think give people what they want. They came to me for my show. Give them my show. The year that I was off social media was the year of my biggest growth. Focusing also on doing well the thing that brings people to my social media platform.
Offline.
Yes. So, first of all, it's a fiction that you need to be there yourself. It's a fiction.
I want to talk about something you touched on earlier.
Okay.
About your relationships.
Right.
You said you kept looking for, what was it you were looking for?
For someone to make me feel like I was lovable. That's different from someone to love me, because people are loving me. But they thought they were dealing with a normal issue. I was looking for somebody else to make me feel the way I wanted to feel, but that's my job. My emotions are my job.
First.
Because nobody can even see my emotions or feel them but me. And one day I just said, I want to paint my nails. It's not a big deal to other people who have been paid in entertainment, but for me it's a big deal. I'm like, oh my God. They're going to judge me, pastors. I didn't overthink it, but I just knew, like, pastors.
What happened?
They're going to judge me, etc. I'm like, FM. It's my life. I'm going to live it fully. I cannot allow you. I'm ready to pay any consequence for being my full self.
Welcome to another wonderful episode of The Link Up. I'm your host, Teddy A, and you already know on this show, conversations echo beyond the surface. With me today, I have a wonderful guest. This young man right here, I would say an old man because a young man, has shaped the talk show landscape with groundbreaking interviews, doing it online, offline, and on TV as well. He's here to discuss his brand new book, How Depression Saved My Life. With me, I have the one, the only, Mel Chude.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to be on your show.
Finally.
And thank you for calling me a young man. Too many people have been calling me Uncle Chude lately.
You have to keep it forever young.
Yes.
But yeah, how's it going?
Going good. This has been a very good year. So yeah, on many levels.
Awesome. You're currently on tour for your book?
Yes.
Walk me through that.
Oh, the tour, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so this book came out in October last year. But last year was so busy. Last year was my 40th birthday. So many activities. I was handing over companies that I was running. And so I begged my publishers. I told them, please, I can't do anything on this book until January. So we kind of just talked about the book on low key. And then, and also the book is so important to me. And I guess we'll get into that. It's so important to me, this story, because of what it is doing and what it's going to do in the world. And so I thought, I don't want to be distracted. This book is big enough for us to focus on it. Yeah. So we kind of low key just moved, even though the book was out, just moved everything to this year. And so thankfully, last week in we had we had 2 launches. I had a virtual book launch for my global community, my personal people, who are scattered across the world. So we had people from, I think, over 12 countries, come together, hundreds of us to launch the book online. Yeah, my friends, my family, ex-bosses, ex-employees, all of that. And then after that, then we had the Lagos book party, where I had my friends, my industry people come out and...
Sorry, I missed your
it's a record,
event, by the way. Yes, I was.
Yes. And then but it was sad because, Bam Bam is my sister, but she was also busy, but I understood. Which was a Thursday anyway. But thankfully, the hall was filled out, and there was so much goodwill from other people who couldn't make it. And I was so thankful all my people were there. Funke Akindele, Messi, AK, Jim Aiku, you've interviewed, all of that. So that was just really a beautiful, beautiful day.
Full circle moment.
Tears, full circle. Lots of tears, lots of personal confessions, and that's what the point of this book. And we had the former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, former governorship candidate of the Labour Party in Edo State, open up about dealing with the issues in the book. And I'm just looking at him, it's a public place, and he's saying, look, the things Chude wrote in this book, I am currently going through them. And I thought that's why I wrote this book, so that we know that he's one of the most highly accomplished lawyers in the country, one of the accomplished leaders. To know that Professor Patutomi was emotional there, Auntie Betty Rabo, who published Genevieve magazine. MI was talking about some of the things, especially about therapy. I think he has done therapy. So it was just that kind of thing where people know that they are not alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that was just, those events were everything I wanted them to be. And now we hit the road. I'm off to Abuja this week, and then Banjul, and then London, Manchester, Berlin, Toronto, New York.
Going around the world.
And then we move from there. Yeah.
Awesome. It's lovely to see you transcend from where you were many years ago into having a talk show, and then now having a best-selling book, And like you rightly pointed out, people who came from all walks of life to celebrate you, to honor you, and walk with you through your success or your journey. Let's talk about how it all started out for you.
Right.
You didn't fall from
the sky.
From the sky.
Yeah.
Took years of work.
Yeah.
And you've been in this game for more than 10 years. Right?
Yeah.
How did it all start out for you?
Right. So for the viewers who are not familiar with the work, because so most people, and it's completely fine, to be honest. It makes me feel like I'm constantly young. But most people, my story started from 5-6 years ago when the podcast started. But this is now my 26th year in the media.
Crazy.
And I've had multiple iterations of my career. So this all started my career started when I was 15. This is my 4th book. I wrote my first book when I was 15, in Mayflower School in Ikene. And it was a novel, published by Goldfield Publishers in Ibadan. And so that's how my career started. My first book came into the exam hall while I was writing my way. And all my classmates were looking at me as if I was a mini god, which felt nice. So from there, finishing why I came to Lagos, began to do publicity rounds for my book, on TV shows, newspaper interviews, and then it was on one of those shows that I got my first job offer. At the age of 16. 15, 16, some of these dates confuse me, but it's either 15 or 16. And that was Dr. Olivia Ojonma, who was one of the biggest TV hosts in the country at the time, and the father of DJOB. And, it was live on TV. Just as we were talking, he just says, look, guys, this guy is so smart. I think he should be the host of our youth segment. Like, what do you guys think? Chude, you're now the host of our youth segment. And that's how I got my first job. A few months or a few weeks after, I forget now, I was on another popular TV show, New Dawn with Fumi Yanda, who I consider the greatest TV presenter this country has ever seen. And so Dr. Levy, he didn't really give me a contract, but it didn't matter. It was just a big opportunity. So he dashed me money. So it wasn't really like a paid gig. But Fumi was the first person to pay me. I think what? 5,000, 10,000. But this was 25 years ago.
At the time.
So it's a lot of money. And I was a student of Unilag already, so this was huge for me. And that's how my career started. And I would do a lot of gigs. I tell people that I have perhaps, and I used perhaps just in case, but I have perhaps the biggest experience when it comes to talk shows in the country, because between that time, I was just working for a lot of talk shows. I was working for Inside Out with Agatha Amata, which was syndicated across all the stations in the country at the time, working for Video 10 on NTA Network, Youth Talk, Health Matters with Lilian Agba. So I just had this massive, then we worked with Professor Patotomi for his show, Petito's Gang.
Petito's Gang.
Yes. So we did a youth segment called Petito's Guys. And it would get young people to just replicate the conversations that the older guys were having. So
I think I've seen that.
Yes, right.
I've seen that.
So that was a beautiful thing. So that was my career, and I began to write as well. First wrote for a magazine called Tempo Magazine, then wrote for This Day newspapers for a long time. So, by the time I was 20, so I tell people that if I retired now, I've had a career, because, so I tell people that, I interviewed Sheyi Tinubu when his father was governor 23 years ago. I met him. And Chimamanda before I was 20. So I had this, and those are one of the most fun times of my life, because all of these things were dreams come true. Young guy growing up in Ikesha, didn't know anybody, parents weren't famous or wealthy or anything. And I love the media. And just to be able to now do it actually was like a dream to work on it. I tell people that the 3 years of working on New Dawn were some of the best years of my life. It was a daily live TV show. And I was also a student of Unilag at the time. So I'd come to the studio in the morning, work till 9 and go back to school, continue my classes. I missed a lot of classes, but I had so much fun. So that's how my career started. Then we started our company, myself, Adebola Williams, and our friend, the late Amelia. We're just three guys that were just doing things, and we met each other and we thought, we did some things together. We thought, what? We can start a company that focuses on youth media. We had a company called Red Strat at the time. Our first big product was the Future Awards. Yeah, it was Future Awards then. It hadn't become an African brand. And so that's our idea. We came up with the Future Awards, I think, in 2004. It took us about 2 years of disappointments, failed promises, cancelled. We didn't get any sponsorship. But we didn't even get sponsorship for the first 4 years of the Future Awards. And so that's how that business started. I was still in school when we started. I was 19 when Red Media started. Debola was 18. Emilia was 17.
Wow.
No, I was 18, Debola was 17, Emilia was 16.
Wow.
And so we built this company. At the same time, I was working because the company wasn't yet making money. People didn't understand what we were trying to do. We were trying to do youth marketing. There was no youth marketing segment in many brands at the time. People didn't understand what the concept of youth demographic was. So we're doing all kinds of work. So I was PR manager for Storm Music, we're working on brands including Dari, Sasha, Ikechukwu, Nato C. Then we worked on Big Brother, worked on The Apprentice Africa with Storm under Obi Asika, and Remy Ogunpita was running. So again, fun. Just fun. Writing for True Love West Africa, Made Magazine, Big Brother Magazine. And so the first 10 years of my career was writing, TV production, and building our company, And then I guess Future Awards became successful. 2010, we got our first big break when we got our first major sponsorship. And life became a bit softer.
Soft life. Yeah. Awesome. It sounds to me like you've gone through a lot of, would I say, what's the word? Transformation.
That's the one, yeah.
Going from entertainment into entrepreneur roles, into then writing books, podcasting, media.
Yeah.
Now, before all of this, there was a guy who was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Who was trying to make sense of everything. Who was that guy?
That's a good question. Shy. Introvert. I'm still introverted, but shy. Very insecure. But also very afraid of life. Yeah. I say to people, chapter 9 of my book is about courage. And I say it's the most important chapter to me because there are things that I do now that, I'm just like, oh, wow. I can never imagine I would be this bold. And, I don't think that true bravery is important. Bravery is in different ways, but the bravery that I'm most impressed by is personal bravery, not charging into battle, climbing a rock. It's, do you have the courage to marry the person that all your friends and your family say no to? Do you have the courage to live the life that people criticize because you know it to be right? Do you have the courage to step away from friendships that don't serve you? Do you have the courage to raise your child differently from your friends? You know, do you have the courage to, the kind of courage, and I'm not just saying this to impress you, the kind of courage that yourself and your wife had when you came out of the Big Brother house, and you could have just become influencers, which is not a bad thing, but you guys wanted to build something that was real and not just become fodder for social media. And that requires sacrifice. That requires saying no. Yes. And saying no to opportunities and seeing some opportunities pass you by while other people are taking advantage of those opportunities. You're thinking to yourself, am I mad?
But I'm turning this down.
Yes, but that's real courage. That's the courage to live life on your own terms. And I didn't have that courage growing up because I grew up in Nigeria and not wealthy. And Nigeria is not a good place to grow up not wealthy.
Or connected.
Not connected. And so you just see all these people doing things and it felt like these are people that own life. These are people this life belongs to, not me, you know? Just like a spectator in life, you know, constantly timid and afraid. And I say to people, you know how it's only people who have gone through that process of and gotten to this stage of their life, some fame, some economic success, understand what it means to be comfortable sitting down in an eatery and not being worried that they're going to ask you, what did you come to order?
Facts.
Yeah. And so just small things like that. Emotionally also, I'm an only child. And so I used to feel like I was very different from everybody else. Like there was something wrong with me. Everybody else had a brother or sister, you know, a big family. And in school, in church, it was always just me. So that gave me a sense of insecurity that is, I'm weird. Now I love being weird, but it's
standing different.
Yes. But as a child, it's very difficult to be weird, you know? And I was often bullied as a child. I didn't really think of it as the word bullying. That's what they call it now, but just, you know,
picking on you,
being picked on.
Yeah.
In different places. I remember, one time like that, I joined the children's choir, which was great for me. It was led by a woman called Auntie Aisha. And I was just so happy that I was in a place where I'm now, you know, accepted.
Yeah.
And I remember that, so they were doing choreography. And because I was so happy, I was overdoing the choreography. And everybody's there laughing and just points and said, this one is overdoing. And the choir mistress, Auntie Aisha Abbas, said, everybody, shut up. I said, sit down on my lap. From now on, you are my special choir member. And for me to remember it, it must have been important to me.
Yes.
And you know, I also remember, I would say one of my childhood memories in primary school was because my father lost his job at some point, so my mother had to hold the family together. And one day, and I went to a Najabota private school, Kikotun. Wealthy parents, you know, my mother and my father really just pushed themselves to say, you have to go to a great primary school.
Yeah.
And, so one day, like I think I stressed my mother out. Everybody else has Capri Sun. When it's time for break, I have nothing. No, I don't know. My mother kind of pushed herself together, gave me Capri Sun for break time that day. And I put the Capri Sun in my bag, not knowing that Capri Sun, if it's not supposed to get hot. So at break time, or whatever, I bring out the Capri Sun, it had burst all over the bag. One of the worst days of my life till date. Because I just felt I was just looking forward to people seeing that I'm now one of you people.
Acceptance.
So I remember interviewing, and I write it in the book, interviewing Josh Too Funny. And I said, he was talking about his childhood. I said, when I was a child, I felt inferior. And he said, no, he thinks he was inferior. That's how you feel, you know, at that age. So that was the kind of childhood that I had. It was lonely. And not my parents' fault. I had fantastic parents, you know, took care of me. There was no abuse, no abandonment. You know, they were attentive. They pushed themselves hard. But, you know, a child's emotional life is a very weird thing, you know. And so I grew up feeling lonely, feeling insecure, feeling shy, feeling alone, and intensely afraid of the world.
Wow. I love the vulnerability. And that's what has really, you know, endeared you to fans and the world. How were you able to fight these battles? Insecurity, desperate to want to become. Desperate to want to be accepted, be loved the way you wanted to be loved and shown some sort of affection. How were you able to come out of that?
It's a very funny quote. Somebody said, first, he said, I asked somebody, how did you become bankrupt? First, slowly, and then very quickly. And it's almost like that. I just thought of it nice we were talking. There are 3 stages. You see, somebody asked me, what is, I think it's MI at my event. I don't know if it's possible. Somebody asked me, what is the one thing that you learned? What's the one surprising thing that you learned about this, your journey out of depression? And I said is that healing never really ends. Healing is continuous work. It's like going to the gym. It's like, maybe you don't want to call it healing, maybe you want to call it wholeness, maybe you want to call it whatever. Of course, when you leave the gym on Monday, you are healthy, but you have to go to the gym on Wednesday.
Right.
If you stop going to the gym, you stop being healthy.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that I discovered, that it takes a while because life keeps happening. So if you were at peace before you got married, like my people would tell you, marriage tests you. And like you said when we're joking, kids keep you on your toes. So that's another level. Do you understand? You thought you were at peace, you thought you were calm, then you realize there's somebody else you're not responsible to.
Every level comes with
yes.
some problems.
So that's the thing. Now, for me, there were 3 big stages. The first stage of becoming more secure was my achievements. The more I accomplished in life, the more confident I became. Yeah. And one of the sayings I like is my actions are the ground on which I stand. Yeah. So I began to be less afraid of the world. Like I was saying, you have some money, you can walk into some places, you can have some conversations.
Money na man.
Exactly.
Money be man.
So that first level of just accomplishing things built a sense of, okay, we're part of this world. And so that was extremely helpful. And that's why I always say, even the research shows that even when it comes to even happiness, it's more difficult for people to be happy if they're poor.
Right.
Yeah. Let them have their basic needs sorted. Now there's a level at which money doesn't help with happiness, but there's a level at which lack of money will certainly affect your happiness.
Yeah, it keeps you in a certain state.
Yes. You're constantly trying to survive. It takes more work to be happy. So that was the first stage. Yeah. The second stage, then I hit that limit of what money can do, what achievements can do, where, you realize that, yes, it helped you. It helped elevate you, but it didn't fill the hole in your heart.
The void.
Yeah, the void. And so that was the next step. That was emotional. So that took me a few years. I remember writing the book 2014. I wrote down in my diary, because I describe it dramatically in the book. Let me explain how it. So you're happy, then you're sad, then you're happy, then you're sad. The things that you thought were going to make you happy, but very briefly. You win an award, you get happy. You get 1 million, you get happy. Then suddenly you're looking for 10 million. You get 10 million, you get happy. Suddenly you're looking for 100 million.
Insatiable thirst.
Insatiable
hunger, yeah.
Yes. Researchers call it the hedonic treadmill. It's like a treadmill. You're running fast, but you're going nowhere.
Wow.
So, and then once it wears off, once the thing comes, the high wears off. And so for me, I began to realize that they said money was going to make me happy. They said fame was going to make me happy. They said power was going to make me happy. I mean, I had interviewed President Goodluck Jonathan at the age of 24 in Aso Rock. I felt proud of myself.
Right.
It doesn't last. And so I realized there's something else. I wrote down, so I said, the peak of it was 2014. I'd written my second book and was very busy, just like I have this tour now. And it was incredibly busy. I went to the most countries I've ever been in my life. And one weekend, as I shared the story, on Friday, I was in Denmark giving a keynote address. On Saturday, I left Denmark, went to London on Saturday to give a TEDx talk. Then from there, Sunday, I was back in Nigeria to give, for the Future Awards, where I gave a speech. And on the audience were President, Muhammadu Buhari, Nasir El-Rufai, Khalid Fayemi, I think, Babatunde Fashola, I think. The band was performing, Asha was performing, Bonang was the host from South Africa. This is my event, I'm on stage. I'm on the stage, I'm happy. I come down from the stage, event ends, I go back to my hotel room. It doesn't take me a few hours, I'm sad again.
The dopamine hits.
The dopamine hits.
It's off.
It's off. Doesn't last. And then myself and my girlfriend were supposed to travel for a holiday, cap off a great year. I was so tired. I dreaded the idea of climbing another aircraft. Just dreaded. And I told her, I can't do this. I can't travel. She was so mad, And I was just so sad. I couldn't even stay at home. I was so sad at home. So I went and checked myself into what was then Intercontinental Hotel. Just for like a week, I just booked the hotel, drew the blinds, just stayed there, and I was just sad. Now in my mind, I'm like, why was I just sad at home?
Just brooding.
You get it. Just brooding. And then I wrote down, I'm tired of this. I'm just tired of up and down. There has to be a better way to do this life. So I wrote down, I'm going to start a journey into joy. Yeah. And that decision is what led me here. It's what led me to write. It's what led me to all the things in my life. So that was stage 2. Stage 3. So that led me. So that became more security. So I began to love myself more. I'm sure we might get into that. I began to love myself more. I began to spend more time with myself. Things got worse before they got better. Because when I said I want to live a life of joy, I made some decisions in my life that eventually triggered depression. Coming out of it, though, now helped me learn that security. The third part that I've begun to speak about more often, even though that's even the more vulnerable part for me, maybe not for other people, is then there was a third part where I didn't like myself physically. Yeah. And we don't talk about that a lot. I didn't want to talk about it a lot because I wanted it to be the part that people read in the book. So they should go and read it. But the more I've been talking about the book, the more I've been realizing that it's where most people have so much shame and they don't talk about it because we're not supposed to talk about it. So I joke. I said, many men, for instance, make a lot of money thinking that once they get a lot of money, it will not matter. And nothing else will matter to the women in their lives.
Yeah. Because
once they just throw money at the situation and they realize that, the woman wants you to be emotionally present. The woman wants you to be physically, take care of yourself and all of that. And there's so much shame because they spend their life thinking that money was going to paper through all of this.
All the cracks.
And they can't find the language. The therapist was telling me about the deep shame of a man who felt like his wife was no longer attracted to him. And then how does he
come away from that?
How does he even communicate it to her without feeling like he's no longer a man? And so that was another process. I didn't know that was a process. That was a longer process. I talk about it in the book, why that was triggered. And because that one was more primal, it was a more painful insecurity. But also because to the outside world, it was the least insecurity. Like people don't think that men deal with worries about vanity.
How they look and all that.
How they feel about how they look.
Yeah.
So for that's not, even for me, I'm denying, I'm like, this is not really a problem. I'm just faffing around, to see. But that now took another process. Yeah. That one and the emotional things, so at some point they cross-linked. And so that became a third battle. And then I got to the place where I felt like, okay, I think we've dealt with, I can stand where I am now, and I wouldn't have written this book if I wasn't there, because sometimes writing too quickly can affect your healing process. Yeah. As I said to myself, okay, I feel I'm integrated now. The rest is now the daily journey. Yeah, because something can knock you off. So those are the 3 journeys that have brought me to a place of security.
I have a question.
Yes.
At what point does someone who goes through depression finally realize that, okay, I think I'm healed?
Most people is never. Now, the depression field, the scientific research into depression as a pathology, there are some debates there. So even different therapists have different, when it comes to depression, not other mental health issues. When it comes to the depression, there are therapists that do not think it is really an illness. They don't subscribe to the idea that it's a chemical imbalance. They think it is a social and emotional thing that a change in your social and emotional conditions would affect. But what I mean by that is, if you're lonely And they get depressed because of loneliness. They believe that what you need to do is to build relationships.
To help.
Yes. If you're disconnected, if you're lying to yourself, what you need to do is build self-confidence, So sometimes it's, if you're in a place where the weather affects your moods, then switch location. So there are therapists that believe that the conditions are socio-emotional, so to speak. There are those that believe that it is a medical condition and it's a chemical imbalance and it can only be most cured by drugs. And there's people who drugs help. My theory is that different people are triggered in different ways and different solutions are there for different people. But why I mention that is, so there's some people that believe because it is a chemical imbalance that they can never come out of it. Yeah. The research that I have read and that that resonates with me indicates that that's not the case. But I want to respect
the study.
People who feel that way. Yeah. But the challenge of that is that there are some people who can come out of it and some people have come out of it. I've not suffered from depression since I went through therapy and drugs in 2016. Yeah. So this is 10 years without depression, which is a miracle. If there's people who have not come out of it in that long, and I stopped taking my drugs in the first year. And so for some people, it's never. And sometimes I want to share the good news that that's not everybody. That's not even the bulk of depressives. Yeah. Many people come out of it. Yeah. Even if they have to depend on some form of intervention over time, many people, the vast majority of people who seek treatment, whether it's self-help treatment, whether it's medicinal treatment, whether it's therapy treatment, they come out of it. Yeah. As far as I know. So that's good news that needs to be shared. Yeah. And inside that bucket, a lot of them didn't spend any money. A lot of them just switched their friends circle, reconnected with their family, began to, there's service-based therapy, which is a kind of therapy where they encourage you to give to other people, give of your time. There's all kinds of research, neuroscientific research that shows that the patterns in your brain begin to change the more you do better for other people. Yes. And there are credible tech talks about this. So in that bucket, there are a lot of people who have come out of it just by self-help, just by, just like going to the gym, building practices that promote their own emotional well-being. So for most people, they still, and that is part of why this book, especially in Africa, where we have all kinds of big issues, it's important to share the good news. Some people come out of it from prayer. The prayer is powerful. Some people come out of it from meditation. So most people don't have a time when they come out of it, and that's because they don't know that they can come out of it. They think that, as I write in the book, some people don't know that joy is their birthright. And so they think that is all that life is. And we also live in a culture now where people are resistant to what they consider to be motivation. So you come and tell them you can't come out of it, they think it's because you don't know my story. And that's fine. And I affirm that, but we are all unique, but we are all the same. The Bible says, a Bible verse that I like, that I discovered in the throes of depression, there's no temptation come upon man, but that which is common to man. In short, there's nothing that I'm going through
that is new,
that somebody hasn't gone through somewhere in the world. And so when you look at yourself as part of the human condition, you realize that of course somebody has gone through what you've gone through.
Yes.
So for most people, I'm like, I'm not erasing the particulars of your experience. I'm saying broaden your emotional horizon to know that other people with deep intersecting traumas have also come out of depression. And so there's at least the possibility that you can come out of depression. That there is. Yeah. So that's, I guess that answers that question. Yeah.
This is the Link Up, and I'm having a wonderful conversation with Mel Chude. This man is a bag of wisdom. If you'd love to be a part of this show, be a guest, a sponsor, or a partner, send us an email at the details at the bottom of your screen. Wow. So much to unpack. You've been through a lot. But this is the kind of journey you have to, go on sometimes to find yourself. Yeah. To evolve, to fight those battles. Sometimes I say you may not defeat the battles, but you stand above them. They constantly stay, beneath you. Yeah, right? Because in this world of social media, it is easy to spiral. It's easy to feel good today and feel bad tomorrow.
Yes.
And then the algorithm on your timeline keeps pushing these things, you know, in front of you.
Yeah.
Now, Chude, you've created a platform, a space for people to be vulnerable, for people to speak their truths. How are you able to stay strong in moments where you're at your most vulnerable, where you can't really be strong? Like, what is your mechanism?
That's so beautiful a question. Thank you for asking. Two things. Three things. But the first one is two peas in a pod. And religious people, especially of my tradition, Christians, might struggle with this a bit. But it is what it is. I'm not trying to say it to be controversial. I just say, if your faith is working for you, stick with it. You know, I'm not saying you should do what I do, but I will tell you what happened with me. One is I returned to God. And in returning to God, I returned to myself.
The true self.
Yes. And there is a spiritual tradition, and parts of it are in the Bible, where there are people who believe that God is the highest point of ourselves. Now, when people say that they are scared, they're like, I try to say we are God. Well, first and foremost, Jesus Christ did say that we are God. So there's on that level, they are both pointing to the same direction. But there's a part now, so, you know, there's a part where Jesus Christ in the Christian Bible says, Christ in you, the hope of glory. It's just, I think Jesus has said that. But even more to the point, the kingdom of God is in you. So even if you're not like those people that say, oh, God is the highest point in yourself, Jesus is saying that God's kingdom, the entirety of God's kingdom, righteousness, peace, joy, all of those things are in you. So let's even leave all the other new age people and focus. That means that there is a place in you that is the kingdom of God. This is not a misquoting of the Bible. I'm not telling you to go and read any original Greek. I'm not saying go and read Hebrews. I'm not saying context, I listen to some radical pastors and they will say, this was not in the original Hebrew. I'm like, you will scare people with that. They will think you are rewriting the Bible. Just explain the Bible as it is. Right. Just tell them this is what is there. So there's a point in you that is the kingdom of heaven. And so when I retreat to myself, come back to that place that's the kingdom of heaven. And that place can often be found for me in prayer, silence,
meditation,
and nature. Yes, silence, meditation. I don't meditate for too long, but I never leave the altar meditating for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah. And people know if it affects my morning with my quiet time. I use the word quiet time for the first time today, and I'm like, I never called it quiet time. I call it my soul food time. Anytime I don't have to go out in the morning from 8 to 12, I have to be by myself in the morning. My phone is not with me. Nobody can reach me. If people at home knock on my door, they know that there's going to be war that day. So I do that on a daily basis as a practice, but especially last week, I think this was the universe trying to send me a message. Last week, 3 weeks ago, I began to experience something. So over the past year, I just handed over, I own 3 media companies. I own 4 media companies. One of them is a group of companies. So Red for Africa is a group of companies. And I just handed over the last company to a new CEO. So, because I'm like, the next stage of my life is about teaching and sharing and investing. And so I'm less busy than I've ever been at any point in my life. Less busy. What has happened is that because I'm less busy, I'm not bored. And so 2 weeks ago, I entered the state of boredom. I came back and I began to read up on it. Yeah. And it's a state very close to something called anhedonia, or I think adendonia or something, which is because of the way you're feeling, you stop taking intense pleasure in the things that you are doing. Now, what happens with most of us is that immediately we fill our lives with activity, parties, travel. I want to go to my happy place. But I learned that my happy place is in myself.
Within you.
There's no happy place that is better than myself, because wherever you go, you carry yourself. So if you're unhappy and you're expecting a location to change it, you are with yourself. So I've learned that many years ago. So when I start feeling this, I'm like, there's nothing we have not come through before. We're going to do this one. So I begin to research, what is this? Because I know it's not depression. First of all, I'm not even afraid of depression. I'm like, is this depression? So I go and read. I'm like, no, it's not depression because I'm enjoying my life. I'm doing all these things, but there's something, it's just like
something
10% lesson. And I like I like life. So I like things. So when I'm not enjoying at the optimum, like, something is wrong. So I go back and say, this is it. I'm like, because I'm bored, because I'm doing less and I don't want to add anything to my schedule. So I'm like, okay, so what do we do? I'm like, we spend more time with ourselves. So I began to leave early in the morning. I'll go out when the sun is out. I'll take a walk in my exercise, do it in the evening. I just switch my routines a bit. Because in silence, I ask myself in silence and in prayer, what is causing this? Because it's in myself. My heart is here. My heart is not outside. Nobody is in with it. So that's what stillness does. And I began to pray and I began to read and I'm like, okay, so I need to just switch some routines and change some perspective. It has never failed me. Never failed me. And this is not me. This is not my real face. My real face is loud music, movies, beaches, travel, all of this. I enjoy life. Yeah. And so, but that's the intensity of the enjoyment is almost approximate to the intensity of my silence and my prayer.
The balance.
So when I go out, it's because I've spent time with myself. Nothing, criticism doesn't move me, Why? Because first and foremost, before I left the house in the morning, I've spoken to myself. Before I leave that morning, I know myself. I've had conversations. And if I make mistakes, I'm so in tune with myself that I know that I'm a human being. I'm supposed to make mistakes. As long as, and I try to get to awareness very quickly. Bottom line is that those three things help with that. Prayer, silence, stillness, meditation, and spending time with nature. Because we are part of nature.
Yes.
We are not apart from nature. And so so it's not even as if, because we are with nature, it's not even as if we are being with nature, it's that we are being aware of our oneness with nature. It's like, I tell people, what is that? Is there any of us, maybe I've not met the person, there might be, who you stand on top of a mountain, or you stand in front of the ocean
and not feel
anything.
Yeah. That's how I felt when I was in Ekiti.
Right.
Ekiti has a lot of landscapes, mountains and hills.
Yes.
And you're standing on the top of the mountain and you're just looking at nature and you just feel this ease.
Yes.
This, rush of pleasure.
Yes, sharp. You get it.
Rush of
pleasure.
You just feel like, man, I think I could stay here.
Yes.
You feel that way when you go in the forest. You feel that way when you're by the ocean.
Yes.
And you're right. I feel like as a people, we are so disconnected with nature because of everything around us.
Yes.
A place like Lagos where everywhere is a building, everywhere is a house. It's something my wife usually says, grounding is very essential.
So essential, like ground at least 10 minutes every day.
Yeah, you connect to Mother Earth, connect to nature.
Yes.
Wow, awesome. I'm going to ask another question about, around the book before we go on to other things so we don't bore our viewers. Is there a chapter in this book that felt more like, a confession rather than storytelling?
Chapter 1.
What's that about?
It was about my childhood. Chapter 1 is the thing that triggered my insecurity around my physical appearance. Chapter 1 is also about why I was going through a revolving door of relationships, looking for something I was not missing. Chapter 1 is the most, when I read it again, because people keep telling me about how chapter 1 has changed their lives. People are discussing chapter 1 with their therapists. People are saying this to me. They're writing it on social media. And so I went back to read chapter 1. Like, what did I say in chapter 1? I'm like, oh my goodness, Chude, you really went hard. I didn't leave anything unsaid in chapter 1. Because this book was a divine order. Again, I always tell people when I say this thing, I'm like, look, you don't have to believe it. Like, when I say that, I'm not even saying, I'm like, you can even remove the mysticism. If you remove it, if you don't believe it's divine,
unpack it.
Yeah. That's it. You can think it's just intuition. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't need to be spiritual or supernatural to be important. Something deep inside me compelled me to write this book. And so when I was reading chapter 1, I'm like, if I wasn't compelled, if I didn't feel like this was something that I have to do for the world, I wouldn't have done it. But then I can see why it blesses people. It's deeply truthful in a way that I dare say, and I read widely, and I read a lot of Nigerian books. when it comes to the depth of emotional truth and vulnerability, this book is a pioneer. And chapter 1 goes hard. So chapter 1 was deeply confessional.
It reels the reader in.
Yes.
To stay locked in the book.
Yes.
To, want to keep reading further.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Speaking on vulnerability and insecurities, you mentioned, growing up. What were the things that I want you to be candid? What were the things that you had to deal with specifically that kind of altered your sense of belonging
as a child
while growing up, which then morphed into adulthood?
That's such a good question. Oh, that's such a good question. I've never thought of it. And I've never been asked it. One was, so how do you explain it? One was, one was trying too hard. Because of the insecurity, you want to belong. So you try. You join all the groups in church. You want to impress everybody. You want to be the first to raise up your hand in class. So what I now call overfunctioning began in my childhood.
Overperforming.
Trying to be seen, to impress. I did that a lot as a child. I'm trying to look for something specific because it helps people when there's something specific. Another part of it is because I was trying to run away from the experience, and I can't blame myself because I was a child. I began to overwork myself as a child. Like I said, I feel like my first book was published at the age of 15.
Yeah.
I wrote it at the age of 13.
Wow.
So I didn't even have the time to be a child. I was so eager to escape my childhood. So in a hurry to go into the world and do things. So I was constantly working. I remember I was working in secondary school, working so hard that I was writing at least one article on a notice board as a member of a press club every day.
Wow.
To the extent that Mr. Tete, the press club president, had to call a meeting and say, you need to slow down.
Calm down.
When your teacher is telling you to slow down. So those two things are things that I remember very much. And I wanted people to like me. It was so essential. And that took me into my adulthood. I don't think I killed the desire to be liked until I was 31.
Wow.
And now I honestly, everybody likes being liked. There's nothing wrong with being liked. It's to depend on being liked for your validation.
That's the word, validation, yes.
So it took me until when I was 33 to care, to stop caring. Or 31, between 31 and 33 about being liked. Now I honestly don't care about being liked. I like it if it happens. But it's like a bonus. It's like, oh, that's nice. You like me.
Awesome.
Awesome. But if you don't, I'm like, well, that's what life is. So, but when I was a child, it was the summation. Everything I was doing was for somebody else to like me. My classmates to like me. My choir masters to like me. My teachers to like me. Random strangers I meet on the street to like me. So I guess that is one time I overfunctioned emotionally because I wanted people to like me.
Wow. I think, a lot of kids, go through that same phase of wanting to be accepted, wanting to be liked, wanting to be approved,
Yeah. And
even we see that with children and their parents.
Yes.
Daddy, I did this.
Yes. That's healthy.
Yeah.
That's healthy. To want and again, look, we're human beings. We need for affirmation. So the reason why I don't need other people's like is because I'm very well liked at home.
There's love at home.
There's love at home. So we need, if I wasn't loved at home or if I hadn't done the work to love myself, that's where human beings. Love is the ocean in which we swim emotionally. Yeah. And so there's nothing wrong with a child wanting the validation of the parents. Unfortunately, many parents are bad parents. So if there's no other way to be a child, because if the children knew, then maybe somebody could have taught them
before coming.
If you're a bad child, if you're a bad parent, don't worry, you will still be fine. But unfortunately, there's no other way. This is how God made us. But that's healthy. The unhealthy one is to go beyond the circle of love, the natural circle of love, to need, so that the natural circle of love is not enough for you.
You need more.
You need more. That's the unhealthy part, because my parents loved me, but that wasn't enough for me, you know. And as they said about women who have daddy issues, boys who have mommy issues. So it's one of those things where it wasn't enough that your dad loved you. You needed somebody else to love you like your dad. That's where there is a problem. When the natural circle of love is either missing or not enough.
Or broken.
So that's it. Because children have it and it's natural. That's how we're created. But sometimes the container in which God poured us when we came into life was not strong enough to own us. Something Oprah said many years ago, or TDJ said to Oprah. Some of us were born with the capacity for a container of love. But we were born to families that only gave us pints of love.
A drop here and there.
Yes. And sometimes we now go looking for things to fill it up. And then sometimes that leads us astray.
Wonderful, Chude. Bags of wisdom. Bags of wisdom. Now, I want to talk about something you touched on earlier.
Okay.
About your relationships.
Right.
You said you kept looking for, you know, what was it you were looking for?
For someone to make me feel like I was lovable. That's different from someone to love me, because people were loving me. But they thought they were dealing with a normal issue.
Oh, not today.
Not today. So that was what it was. So you, and I read it in the book that, so I would go out to an event, and this happened at least thrice or twice. I go out to an event and see this hot person, hot woman. I'm like, I would like to date that woman. If I date that woman, I will now know that.
You know, right?
I'm a man. And then one day, in one of those cases, that woman sends me a message asking me out on a date. Now, you would think that should be the end of this insecurity. Like, okay, it's proven. No, we dated for a while. After the first few weeks,
more.
You want more. It's like, I wrote it, I was in an unbroken loop of madness. Because it is madness, because it's not reflecting reality. Sometimes people get lucky and they meet a partner. First of all, it's not your partner's. So the point is that I was looking for somebody else to make me feel the way I wanted to feel. But that's my job. My emotions are my job. Because nobody can even see my emotions or feel them but me. Sometimes we get extremely lucky, and I write it in the book. Sometimes we get extremely lucky and we meet a partner who has the emotional resources to help us. But even then, they're doing us a favor, which is what love is. It's not their job to make us happy. Yeah. It's their job to join us. It's their job not to take from the happiness. But it's not their job to make us happy. So sometimes we are lucky, but I always tell people that the point is that it is luck. So you might not be lucky and you find a person who cannot help you feel that way. So your job is to learn how to make yourself feel the joy you want to feel. So I kept having partners who I wanted to help me feel that way. And that's why I was enter. Look here. So I mean, but go back and look at the people that I dated. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not trying to be nice. I'm not trying to be kind. I'm not trying to be a mature man. I would have been happy with any of them, knowing what I know now. I just thought there was something else that was missing, and it was not me. It was outside. And I kept waiting for that person, you know. But it's to be present in a relationship. I remember I was interviewing Black Bones, and he was talking on TV, so I can share this, about the relationship he was in, and he left the relationship because he was afraid. And I said, did you talk to the woman
about it?
He said, I didn't want to spoil her life. I said, but you spoil. So now leaving the relationship is now the solution. I'm like, you should have trusted her enough to lay your imperfections and say, can we navigate it together? Not her doing your work for you. But if you are insecure, and that wasn't what he was dealing with, he was dealing with something else. But if you're insecure, you're not saying your partner should make you secure. You're saying your partner should be aware of your insecurity.
Where's the communication in that?
Yes, the Gottmans, who are the world's most famous couple therapists, call some of them enduring vulnerabilities. If a woman has been sexually abused, she's very likely to her death going to have certain hang-ups about sex if she has been raped.
Yes.
That's an enduring vulnerability. So when her husband touches her, she might flinch. The husband has to learn to make peace with that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the things like that. So it's not that, oh, he's going to make you whole, but that he's going to sit with you in it. And so I was expecting my partner to do what that was mine to do. When I realized that, I'm like, oh my God. But that's what it means to learn. So I don't go back and regret. I go back and think, I laugh at my old self, but then I never forget that I'm still alive.
Yeah.
So I have the opportunity to apply the lessons I've learned from my past to make my future even better. So that's why I was going into this relationship. That's what I learned coming out of it.
We're going to get back to the relationship thing later. We'll get back to that. But now, you speak a lot about vulnerability.
Yeah.
So let's sit on this one for a bit. Has it cost you anything professionally, privately? I'm talking about vulnerability here. Has it cost you anything?
Probably, but I don't care. Probably. I was with friends of mine the other day. So last year, for instance, it was the end of the year. Something I've never done in my life. So this is not vulnerability, but this is an example of what I mean by I don't care. I just thought, I've always been until I started doing my podcast, I've been in the corporate world, building businesses, working for companies. And one day I just said, I want to paint my nails. It's not a big deal to other people who are in entertainment, but for me, it's a big deal. I'm like, oh my God. They're going to judge me, pastors. I didn't overthink it, but I just knew, like, pastors. It will happen. They're going to judge me, etc. I'm like, FM. It's my life. I'm not going to, I don't believe in reincarnation. So there's no opportunity in the future for me to come back and paint my nails.
Right.
So I did it. Then I got tired of it. Like, I'm like, okay, point proven, please. Even the while of doing it is stressing me out. etc. So that's how I am. So I'm just like, it's my life. I'm going to live it fully. I cannot allow you. I'm ready to pay any consequence for being my full self. And my full self, when I was born as a child, I used to call it Balogule Yobiri. Which it turned out was a good thing. I wish you had told me the history of that Balogun. Because that Balogun used to get all the bounty in the land because the queens were close to the Balogun. For those who understand, the chief that was always behind the women. And because all my friends were female in secondary school, I felt more understood by women. And so that's one of the bullying. But I've always been in touch with my emotions. Always been in touch with my emotions. I'm very comfortable being vulnerable. Extremely comfortable. In fact, there are things I just don't say because I'm like, I think you don't need to share this one. Just because we always must have boundaries as human beings.
Right.
But I had a best friend. No, not a best friend. I had a friend. Wasn't one of my best friends. Okay, no. It's a controversial thing, but did something controversial, with her body. I'm like, I was ashamed of telling you. I'm like, ashamed of telling us, your friend, and I'm not your best friend, but why would I judge you for what you do with your body? I've never been like that. I always joke. I said, if I was a woman, all these arguments people have, you cannot have surrogacy, give birth like the Hebrew women. You will miss me with that. I will do with my body what I choose to do, and then you can do with your judgment what you choose to do. So I'm like, it's division of labor. I live my life, you judge it. But I never, ever, I do something called the Joy Retreat. And we do it every year. So people come and spend 4 days with me, and I help them. I use the tools I've learned to help them heal. And if I can share it, people can register on it on retreats.chude.com. And when I do it, when I said it, I would do an exercise. People say, what do you say? I said, they would say, what will society say? So I used to do this. Now it has cast. I will give them money. 10,000. I say, please, sorry, I'm sorry. Let me go run outside and buy 2 bottles of society. And they will laugh. They say, there's no such thing as society. It's not person. It's just the perceptions and your feelings about those perceptions. No, society cannot make you do anything. Society can only respond to what you do. What you're doing is in your control. So that's the same thing with vulnerability. Now, I didn't know that I was going to be a pioneer in vulnerability in the African space. It wasn't planned. Like I didn't say depression come at 2016 so I can be vulnerable. But I'm like, this is also one of the beauties of being your full self. Because I'm not ashamed of my vulnerability, I can do with Chude. And I can be vulnerable and I can cry with my guests, and they can cry because they can feel like I understand them.
Right.
because of it, I can write this book that has become an Amazon bestseller because I didn't deny my reality, but instead I embraced it. So I want to, it's good that you asked that question because I've never been ashamed of my vulnerability. Never, even as a company. When I was running my businesses, we were broke, when we had financial issues, the staff would know. When we were going through trouble, management will know. When I was depressed, my management team was the first to know. I stepped aside, handed over to my partner. I've never felt like I've been so secure in my masculinity. I've never felt that anything can take away from it. You say, oh, that's not masculine. Like, too late, I'm already masculine. It's nothing you can do about it. It's not the external things that lead to that. Now, thank God for that. Because of that, remember that, you know what they say in James Bond, your mission if you choose to accept. When the universe gave me a mission to preach vulnerability, I could easily say yes, because I was never ashamed of my natural propensity to be vulnerable in the first place.
That's a wonderful answer. I'm going to ask you 3 more things before we round up, because I know you're a busy man and you have a lot to do. Let's talk about social media.
Yes.
Social media.
Yes.
I follow you on Instagram, and I follow your work. I see everything you do, How do you handle the criticism that comes your way, by way of being as vulnerable and open as you are? You give platform to a lot of people who society might term, hey, what is this person doing? Sexuality wise and stuff like that. And, a lot of, would I say accusations? A lot of, what's the word? Them say, has come towards your way via social media. I mean, that's the only way they can tell you anyway.
Exactly. That's the only way.
That's the only way they can do it. They can't do it in person. How do you navigate that? How does that make you feel?
Thank you for that question. I like it. First of all, I don't see it. So I don't have the password to my social media account. So if you receive, of course, and I used to put no DMs on my phone, so I put no message. But now, maybe I want to invite people to my event. I'm the one that writes the messages. I don't allow anybody. I write my captions, all of that. But I'm not the one that sends it.
Okay.
I don't have access to my social media. I learned long ago that social media was messing up with my emotions. And it was not necessary.
Mental health.
Yes, it wasn't necessary. So for instance, I can send a message. If social media is a tool to send, I'm sending you an invitation for something, I can send you a message. I can use it as a tool, but it cannot be a mirror. It is not a reflection of who I am. It's a reflection of people.
Right.
It has always been. Media has always been a reflection of other people. And so when I realized that it was messing with my emotions without my permission, I cut it off. And so I don't have password. I stopped having passwords to my accounts in January 2021. So first of all, I don't see the things. What I do, because we're in the business and I appreciate my fans, I appreciate my viewers. So at the end of the month, I get a summary and then stand out. So if my friends comment, if people who are my industry people say something that I need to see in the comment section, my team tells me, because I don't want to ask them outside and say, you said this. And I'll be like, so why am I commenting on your page? Because I love the engagement. I'm not arrogant about that. The fans make the show what it is.
Yeah.
So, but it's filtered, and any rubbish thing doesn't come to me. People don't share unnecessary, irrelevant bad news to me. And opinions of other people is irrelevant bad news. If I make a mistake, that's relevant bad news. If I did something wrong, then you come to me and my friends tell me bad news. So for instance, I didn't know that, I did this interview in January with Ujuanya, who is a lesbian professor that's in the UK.
Yes, I saw that.
And a friend of mine said, it's as if people feel like you are poking them in the eyes.
You're promoting the agenda.
It's her life and her story. I'm a storyteller. I talk to everybody. I do 2 interviews a week. It's not, I don't even do that many of those stories just because some people don't like that kind of life. So when it comes out, why should another person's life aggravate you. So for me, so I didn't even know that there was that backlash until my friend told me last week. So first of all, it can't even affect me because I don't know about it. Secondly, when I do see it, I avoid it unless it's necessary. So I say, if I have to hear the truth about my actions from strangers, then I have bad friends. If my friend, and which is what my friend was saying, which is my friend said, what's the intention behind this? So that's why I don't need outsiders, because my friend,
the ones inside,
will already have told me what he believes, he thinks about it. So for me, that's why it's not necessary. I build history on my mentees. One day I came out of an interview, and I usually don't ask my staff, because the power dynamic can be so high that sometimes your staff feel under pressure to tell you what you want to hear. But I came out of an interview and I asked my assistant, she's here, I said, what do you think? Did you think I over-talked about X? And she said, yes, you did. Now, I asked her that because over time I've observed her and said she has wisdom. Yeah. So I could comfortably ask her. I could sense that she's just a church baby. So I could sense that she would tell me the truth. Yeah. So I surround myself, and if she had lied to me, I would have sensed it and I would have trusted her less. Because it's important to have. So because of that, I don't care what other people say outside. It doesn't affect. I don't see. So if, for instance, I share something. So the other day, when I came, so I just reviewed this summary from January, and I saw that I did an interview with TVC, and there was something about no girlfriend has ever asked me for money. That was on Instablog and others. I just saw it. And I'm like, okay, why is that an issue? Okay, that's fine. We have a book to sell. People should talk about my experiences. I wasn't bothered by it. So I have dissociated my sense of identity from what other people say. It didn't come easy. It took me years. Some young people have learned it earlier. I interviewed this guy, Tobe Season, the influencer and actor, I think. Tobe is an actor now. The influencer and actor Tobe. And he was talking to me, and I think he's 27 or something. He was talking to me about things that it took me till my 30s to learn. I was so annoyed. I'm like, you're supposed to have suffered emotionally first before learning this. But
he figured it out.
But he figured it out. So some people have figured it out early. It took me years to figure out. But I honestly don't care what, let me not say it that way. Yes. I don't care what people who don't know me think about me. I care what God thinks of me.
Yeah.
I care what I think of myself. And I hold myself to very high standards. Emotionally, relationally. I care about, did I control my emotions when I was speaking to that person? Do I have to keep quiet now? Have I overtalked? I care about that. I care about when I look in the mirror, am I proud of myself? I set my own exam. And I am the one that scores myself, me and God, and through prayer. I care about what my people who are in my immediate circle think. I care more about what my chef thinks about me than what some person.
I mean, he cooks the meals or she cooks the meals.
Exactly. So. I care that because this person spends days with me. And so I care that he thinks that I've treated him fairly. He thinks that I've treated him properly. Those are the opinions. So if at all I care about people's feeling, those are people I care about. Not somebody in Abuja who thinks, oh, I did this thing, so I must have F them. So that's how I treat social media. Wow,
that's crazy. Because on social media, when you read the comments, and I go on your page and I see things that are being said. Why is he platforming gay people? Why is he platforming lesbians? Is he a part of the community and stuff like that? So for me, I'm like, how does he feel? But it's good that you're not reading these things, because the truth is social media is here to stay.
Yes, it is.
It's not going away.
It's not going away.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
I'm going to tie back. I'm going to tie that now into my next question.
Okay.
Mental health. How would you advise public figures, celebrities, people of means, to handle social media pressure?
Yeah.
The mental side of things that they read online, things that are being said about them online. How would you advise them?
Let me tell you. The honest advice I will give any public figure is to leave social media.
First.
Now they would tell me. It's not, so 2021, December 2020 was when I decided I was going to leave social media. So what happened was somebody criticized me. I've shared an opinion. So a group of people who I thought were my allies criticized me on social media over the thing. And I was like, I felt unsafe. I felt like, oh my God, people dislike me. And I asked myself, you cannot go through depression, go through suicidal thoughts, and be worried by what somebody... So I was annoyed with myself. I'm like, that means I have work to do on myself, because I thought about what I said before I wrote it. Why am I concerned about what people in public are saying? So I said, social media is having too much authority over my life. So in December, I decided I was going to leave. I announced it in December, and I was afraid I was going to leave. All my team said my social media was not going to grow, blah, 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 blah. Yes, 2020, because
people forget you and all that.
But Chude decided that's not the year to leave social media. I'm not yet a mainstream celebrity in that way. So I need everything. I said no. I'm a media consultant. Red Media Africa is one of the top 3 PR companies in Nigeria. So this is my work here. I founded it. I ran it as CEO for 10 years. I said, I don't think. We're the ones that first started consulting for governments when it comes to social media. I opened the social media account for Federal Ministry of Finance. I opened a social media account for all kinds of ministries. So I opened the Paris social media account. So
you did?
Yes, I know social media.
Sit, na dem be this. Say Baba, may you so rest in peace.
Amen. And so I said, no, I don't think that social media depends on me being personally on it. I think give people what they want. They came to me for my show. Give them my show. Give them my voice. Yeah, which remember I said I write my captions myself.
Yes.
I select my
send to the team.
Yes. So I'm like, that's what people need. They don't need me to be there reading the comments. And I think I was at 41,000 followers by December. By the end of 2021, I had been pushed into 200,000 plus followers. The year that I was off social media was the year of my biggest growth.
Because you focus on other things.
Yes, because I'm focusing also on doing well the thing that brings people to my social media platform.
Offline.
Yes. So, first of all, it's a fiction that you need to be there yourself. It's a fiction. I know international celebrities who engage constantly who are not on social media. So, and the reason why it's important for celebrities, for public figures is social media is artificial. This is not how life is. You're not supposed to hear what 1,000 people think about you at once. Your mammalian brain it's not designed for that amount of inputs
and negative energy.
You see, that's why celebrities get angry and respond immediately. You do not have enough meditation quotient to increase your reaction time when 1,000 people are attacking you. You have to be superhuman. One of the best ways to manage your emotions is to increase reaction time. Social media shortens reaction time because you see it immediately and you can afford it. So it doesn't matter if you're running a business, you only have 50 followers, you need to grow it. I can even allow you to permit you and say, okay, that's fine, you need it. But if you're a celebrity with 1 million followers, 2 million followers, I'm not judging you because it took me a while to learn it. Not you, I mean anybody else. But you actually don't. And I've done the studies. I shared people that pay me. We did a study of some premium level celebrities who had over 2 million followers and the level of growth, even though they were absent from social media. It's not necessary. You can afford to pay people. The real issue is social media is addictive. So many of us can't even think of separate. So we make all these excuses, but my fans, but my etc, but they will be offended. My first issue was, what are people, my aunties who comment on my page? I'm like, but I can always, my social media person can always screenshot it, give me the report, and I would text my auntie and say, auntie, I saw your comment, thank you so much, I appreciate it. So the first thing for celebrities, for public figures, is that you actually can afford financially, economically, strategically, to have the best talent to do this for you. You have to understand the damage it does to you. It distorts your sense of reality. The world is a big place. There are, 7 billion people in the world? How many of them are on social media? How many of them are thinking about what they're saying? Why are you allowing your emotions to be dictated by a hungry person And that's not the only person on social media. I'm just using that for dramatic effect. One person who has not had the time in between their shifts to think about what they are saying.
Yeah.
They've not thought about it. They've not thought about it.
They just
said it, and you are replying it.
giving them that attention.
That attention, you are feeding them. You're feeding a distorted reality upon which we base strategic decisions. Because if you enter into a Twitter fight, that is a strategic decision, whether you entered into it deliberately or not. And you've entered into a Twitter, let me tell you. Let me give you an example. 2 years ago, many years ago, I interviewed two of Nigeria's biggest actresses. This was when I was in my 20s. The two biggest actresses. Now, because I'm an interviewer, I remember this. I interviewed this one. And I asked her, this is what this person said in an interview. She hadn't read it. I interviewed the other one. I said, this is what this person said. Now, the other one doesn't usually respond. She had never responded, but I'm a good interviewer, even at that age. So the way I said it, and I wasn't lying, I was just presenting it to her. So then she must be a fool. Then she must be an idiot. So later, I thought to myself, she should have held herself. Because even if I said it, it's hearsay. It's not as if it was the person's fans that said it. But, it was, I've worked with government people. I've been in a strategic meeting. They will say, your opponent said this. The person that said it didn't bring any video recording.
No evidence.
They didn't bring any screenshots. But I will see the government, a minister, make strategic decision based on what you think that your opponent said. This world, it alarms me. And I know because I've consulted for the biggest companies on media, the biggest government officials on media, for presidents on media. It alarms me how much we make important decisions based on what people say or what they said. So I tell somebody to treat social media the way you treated newspapers and treated TV. It's a tool for distribution. It's not a tool for your life. It's not a place to get your well-being. It's not a place to get your identity. It's not even a place if you're even in a crisis, if you have a crisis on social media, I say to you, don't respond for the first 24 hours.
Cool off.
They will still be there. Don't worry. I said, don't worry. I've got to physically restrain somebody. I said, I promise you, when we come tomorrow,
it will be there.
They will be there. In fact, now that you've not said anything, it will even increase the desire for your truth. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's perception and reality are two different things.
Yeah.
And what I do by staying on social media is that I retain my grip of reality. And I choose the perception that I allow to invade my reality.
Awesome. Wow. Mind-blowing, wonderful, dramatic interview with Mel Chude. But before I let you go, I want you to say one last thing about your book, How Depression Saved My Life. If there's a guy or girl out there who is intending to read this book, what do you want them to take away from this book?
John 16:33. I'm a church boy. So people, they always say, are you spiritual or religious? I say, I'm both spiritual and religious. I go to church every Sunday. I speak in tongues. I walk in church. I love church. I love God. And I love church. John 16:33 is the summary of this book. In it, Jesus was talking to the world. Said, in this world, you will have trouble. So I always joke and say, you cannot reject it in Jesus' name because Jesus is the one that said it. You will, not you may. And I tell people, there's nobody in this world that hasn't had trouble. Obasanjo has been arrested. Yes. Buhari was arrested. Princess Kate had cancer. God heal her.
Tinubu had his issues.
Tinubu had his knee surgery. Had betrayal from the people he trusted. In this world,
there will be trouble.
You will. It's a promise. You cannot escape trouble. Any pastor or imam or prophet that promises you that is a liar. You will.
Oh, Nirishuru. Nalayu.
You will. So because we know that it is coming, this is what this book teaches. Do trouble right. There is a bad way to do trouble that makes it worse. There is a good way to do trouble that makes it better. There's a way that you take what life gives you First of all, minimize trouble. So it's like, minimize the troubles. The one you can avoid, because some are coming that you can't avoid. So better for you to avoid the ones that you can. But I write down, this is what the book is teaching. So this book is not about depression. It's about how to live a joyful life. There's a way that you look at trouble and trouble comes. I say, tell trouble, welcome. I knew you were coming at some point. I just didn't know when. Now, what can we do with you? That's literally what happened with depression. Depression directly led to with Chude. Because I said, when you are on the floor, it's natural. So when you are pushed, it's not natural to lie down on the floor. That's fine. It's even natural to stand up slowly, to stagger. That's okay. But there's something called the view from the floor. When you're on the floor, there's a way you will see life that you cannot see when you're on top. Don't miss that opportunity to see life on the floor. Look at it and say, what can it teach me? What can I learn from this? What can I do with this? So when you get up, you have a richer, fuller perspective of life. And that falling is not wasted. That falling becomes the thing that makes your rising even sweeter.
Propels your calling.
Yes, that's what this book is about. I say, joy is not the absence of sadness. Joy is what you do when sadness comes.
Awesome. And on that note, we have come to the end of another scintillating episode of the Link Up with yours truly, Teddy A. With me today, I had Mel Chude. Do not forget to follow, subscribe, share this video on social media. Follow us on Instagram at Echooroom_. That's ECHOOROOM_. And don't forget to follow me as well. Don't you forget, only the bold win. See you soon.
Right, my name is Chude Jideonwo. I'm a TV host, podcaster. And I've just been on the Link Up with Teddy A on the Echooroom. Yeah, been a fantastic conversation. It's a fantastic show. Like, subscribe, comment, follow, and also donate.
Let's go.
Let's do it.